Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast. Your life, your dentistry. We talk about ways to have more fun and meaning in one of the coolest and most rewarding professions in medicine. Conversations on how to bring awareness, create a healthy workplace, and provide emotional insights to make dentistry a fulfilling activity while making space for one's wonder, creativity, and freedom. Here are your hosts, Manuela and George Andre.
I was talking to Kevin that was with me and another guy. We were 12 guys that went to the bachelor's party there in Pisa. And of course I told that they are all the same, they are all upgraded everywhere in their body, which makes them not that much interesting. But one of the things that shocked me the most is that there are many groups of people that were there not looking very happy. I mean, they're like a little bit bored.
Yeah.
But their expressions change whenever there was a picture for social media, which is even scarier.
Yeah, it's really.
I mean,
scary.
there were two girls in front of us, and they were saying like, and the guy that was in front of me, I was with my back towards them, and they said, "Look, these two girls, they've been with this ass faces for the whole dinner, but now they decide to take a selfie, and their smile was huge, and then it stopped again. And it's really, for me, it was kind of it's very interesting to observe this phenomenon. And, so sometimes you think, well, this is just my gender. But sometimes, well, I maybe my parents or my grandmothers they thought the same about us. Maybe it's the same phenomenon.
No,
but I really think that there's an extra layer of social media. That's,
It's also the environment that you are in, right?
Yes, Ibiza is also Ibiza, But I think it's like because all the alternative trends eventually they turn mainstream. Everything in fashion, in music, whatever. So it's like that. It's like Brazilian funk. I'm going to Brazil next week. Brazilian funk was like a really low social class alternative dance culture, right? Now it's the main thing that the people here in Brazil. It's the main thing that people hear all over actually in Europe, actually. So for me, I think that these more niche and alternative trends, they will become mainstream. So it's very interesting to observe how things are going. And I think that the challenge is not judge it, but try to understand it, So why is this happening? And
that was going to be my question for you. So do you talk to those people, or do you just judge them aesthetically? Because
another thing,
for me, I have that. I try to not judge the book by its cover. But but sometimes you just judge it and you don't give the person a chance to actually show you that it's something
I have to be honest, I didn't
a brilliant mind.
Ibiza, there's a lot of partying and eventually sex and stuff like that. I didn't went up to pick up anyone, so I was basically in my own corner. But of the conversations that I had, I don't know. I think there's everything. I think there's everything. I think you can spot more interesting people sometimes. You can spot them and you can talk to them, and there are those, of course. But what I'm talking is like the trend, which is like the average is very similar. The behaviors are very similar, and social media really took over the context because there's this constant concern about looking good on the pics and the videos. It's really we all have that. I have that in my profession. And we use social media in the way that's convenient to us, but it's a very interesting phenomenon to see what's going on. And I think that the real trick is, okay, what's going on? Because at the end of the day, I think that people suffer all over the world, right? And I think that social media has amplified the internal suffering of people. That's what I believe, and I don't think that they talk that much about that. And in one way, I think they are maybe more unhappy. But on the other way, I think they also want to party more and forget stuff. And they just don't look that much in the future. That's what
don't you think that what social media also did was to, for sure, upgraded and created more aesthetic surgery and aesthetic treatments? So you try to cure your unhappiness inside by taking care of your outside.
Like I told you, I think that we all. I mean, I think that I have no problems in doing an aesthetic treatment. For example, I did this hair was a transplant, so basically I'm doing the same thing, so I have no issues with that. But the thing is that I think there's a lot of aesthetic procedures that really don't look good, and they don't look natural. I mean,
it's like they take it to a level that it's not natural anymore.
Yeah. So yes, I think that it's very hard to do very good aesthetic treatments in terms of plastic surgery. It's very difficult to do things that really look good. But to answer your question, is it something that we are trying to hide with the external stuff? Maybe it is, and also social media, of course, is you're responsible for that because you live by your image. Now your portrait picture is very important. The way you look is very important. But also, what I think is that, and I talk for myself, I think that we prolong our youth our fun for longer and longer. I mean, I'm 44, and when I was 15, if I thought about a 44-year guy, I mean, this guy is old. I mean, this guy is finished, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that physically I've never been as well as I am now, and emotionally, honestly. Yeah. So it's like you live your life to the fullest for a longer and longer and longer period. So it also means that you want to take care of yourself. And I think, like I told you, of course that you judge these behaviors and you find them something strange. But for me, what also concerns me as a man is that it's interesting. Women are getting all the same on the outside, and for me this is something that really is strange. Mm-hmm. And plastic surgery and Botox and fillers, I think if they are done with sensitivity, it's okay. But the feeling that I have is that there's no notion of how big the boob should be. There's no notion of how big the lips should be. And it gets, from a man's perspective, and even from a group of men, I was 40, there was another guy of 50s, but most of them were between 30s. Even younger men, they were saying to him, look, this is really strange, I mean, they all look the same. And well, all of a sudden you start to realize that the women that you actually that you find more interesting from an outside is more authentic people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's me. Maybe the 30-year-old guys like that stereotype of women, which is fine, of course, but it's just, or maybe it's just me that's giving an over relevance to that. But when you mess so much with your body, I think there really is a negative part that people don't consider that much. Or maybe it's just me.
Yeah, no.
Maybe it's just me.
I think we all are drawn to authentic persons. I just think that young people today, it's something unconscious. They're so up to social media.
Stop. Okay. Young people today, this is exactly the way that our fathers and grandmothers talked about
saying,
I say exactly the same thing. I was just stopping you because sometimes I stop myself. Well, why am I saying this about them? What is young people? Okay, so is this not the same speech? But sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, go on.
No, I think something happens after 35. 35 is when you have been, you can't say a number exactly, but I think something happens around that age. I think one part maybe is that you realize that, oh my God, I'm getting close to the middle of my life if I live until 80, 90. That is one thing. So it's relative. So you're like, or at least for me, it's like I don't have so much left. So I'm going to take advantage of everything. And I want to have the best possible life. But then also you have been through so many things in life, or at least
the mistakes,
but trying to please people and knowing that in the end, it doesn't matter if you give them your kidney, you will not be good anyway for some people and the best for others. So you come to, I'm going to do what I like. I'm going to love myself and be the best version of myself. And that, when you start to feel that is very charming. And that you can see many times in people that are around 35 and up. Before that, they are handsome, they are beautiful, they are sexy. But after that is what the older you get and you get more wrinkles and gray hair, you get more charm in the way of being. So we should be happy.
and I yes, of course. And I agree with you, especially from a personality and charming perspective. But the thing is, what I'm talking about is, and of course that it's difficult. It's difficult for people to have their own personality before 30, 35, and sometimes it's difficult. I mean, you have no idea what you're doing in a relationship in your early 20s. You have no clue because you have no idea who you are actually.
Exactly.
But what concerns me is the transformations, the significant transformations in your body while you are very young. You know. Because some of those things, they are irreversible, you know.
Yeah.
Some of the things
and you can regret it later.
So when you want to go full power with your body in your 20s and do all these things to of course for yourself but also for others, I think there's something that is maybe missing. Maybe it is like that. I don't know if you know, but we are recording already, so I think that now we can start. But I think we should include this. We should include this in the podcast as
well. So welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Soft Bites podcast, a very special one. I'm here with André. Hello, André. And we are here with Christina Radics. I'm going to introduce Christina. Christina is from Sweden.
Oh, I like how it sounds in Portuguese. Christina.
How do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it?
More like Christina, but I like the Portuguese.
Okay, Christina. So she's a dentist. She graduated in 2005. At the Faculty of Odontology in Malmo, Sweden. She's the owner of the Nordic Dental Centre, a boutique dental clinic in Fuengirola, Málaga. And her specialties are surgery, dental implants, aesthetics, and the vision line, and also aesthetics treatments with the hyaluronic acid. And in her free time, in her spare time, she enjoys being with friends, family, dance, music, volunteer work, and travel. I know Christina. I think we know each other. I don't know, Christina, more than 1 year, 2 years. We connected through Instagram.
Yes.
And Christina joined us, me and André, on our Conscious Leadership course early this year, the first edition. And we thought of inviting you here, Christina, because we really love your energy and we want to know more about you, about your journey in dentistry. So we're going to really dive deep on that. And the first thing that I want to ask you is, let's go to the beginning. Why did you choose dentistry? And tell us a little bit about your journey, because I've just said that you are from Sweden, but you work in Spain. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I will. Hello, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for your course in Portugal. It was Wonderful. We will come to that later. Yes, then I have to go back a little bit in Malmo about my father and mother. My father is from Hungary, my mother from Greece, and they are totally different persons. My father is very calm. He's almost like Mr. Bean on Valium. And my mother is that typical Mediterranean, screamy lady. So I have these two persons in my genes, which explains a little bit about how I am today.
Do you have brothers or sisters?
I have one brother. He's 8 years
Okay.
older. Nobody in my family has a university degree, so I'm the first one. I wanted to become a psychologist when I was young. I have always been loving psychology. And then I was thinking about becoming a doctor. So I always knew I wanted to work with people. That I knew. But my father and mother, they were very different. And I think, or you complement each other when you're different, or you get like dog and cat. But there are dog and cats that get along, but they didn't. So they divorced when I was 10. And that was good because it was not really so good when they were together. A lot of discussions every day. And in my life, I knew I wanted to have children early. And that is something I've been wondering later, how come I was thinking about building a family that early. So in that time, I just grabbed a man. No, just kidding. But I had a boyfriend, and he was 6 years older than me. So it came to a point that we got married. I was only 19. And I got Valentina when I was 20 and Pablo when I was 21. I always took school very seriously, so I had very good grades. But I was thinking about psychology, but because I wanted family as well, I was thinking about the economical part. And my mother and father-in-law at that point, they were pushing me. Christina, you should study at university because you have so good grades. So that is how I came into dentistry. So it's not really it's not like many families that they have it in their family. It was not like that for me.
So you did your degree in dentistry while already having
yes.
your children.
Exactly. Okay. So in life, you can take easy roads, you can take difficult roads. And I have been always toward the difficult roads. So it was very tough.
And sorry, Christine, do you have any idea how come you so young had the clear notion that you wanted to have early children? Did that have anything to do with your family, with the example of your family?
I think it's always complex in life. It's not about one thing, but that feeling of wanting to have children early, I think could come because my parents were arguing a lot. And when they separated, I lived 1 week with my mother, 1 week with my father. My life was like that from 10 years old.
So you wanted to stop the karma there.
Maybe I wanted to have like a base to find the stability, to make like a new. I know it's deep psychology. This was not a
course. It's very complex. But you know the thing that I mean, when there is this sort of, when there's more dysfunction in families, and we all have a certain degree, of course, but when there's more dysfunction, I think that you need a certain degree of maturity to realize, no, I've been through a dysfunctional family myself, and I want to make an intentional effort to stop this cycle in generations.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Was that present in you?
I always had that feeling. It was very present. And I always said that I will not be in the same situation.
You want to break the chain, right?
Yeah, and I didn't want to be in a family where there were discussions every day. So I said that to my husband at that time, if it comes to a day where we will have discussions all the day, we will have more bad moments than good, I will divorce. I will not let the children have that. And that is eventually what happened, because to get married when you're 19 is, like you said earlier, Andre, you don't know yourself. It's like some people can do it, but you have to have a lot of luck to be able to have a relationship from 19 years old. It's very complex. So
it's not only luck, it's work also. Relationships are a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a work. Yeah, exactly.
Can I just tell you a 1 minute story that I saw on Instagram? Basically, there was this speaker talking, and then there was this guy in the public. It was about maybe entrepreneurship or something like it. And the guy was saying, like, look, I'm 25 years old. I'm going to start my company. I have all these ideas. Things are starting to go well. But my girlfriend, and he was 25, my girlfriend is insisting me to get married. And the speaker just became very quiet. He went to the public. He grabbed the guy by the eyes and told him, look, promise me one thing. You will not get married until you are 35. Know yourself and be very honest with the girl. Tell him exactly, if you love her, tell her that you love her. But tell her that you are, if things will have to happen, they will have to happen. But make sure you don't get married until you know yourself.
Yeah. That's
especially if you are being pushed to do it. One thing is if you want to do it. Another thing is if you're being pushed by someone to do it.
That is no, never.
Yeah, but again, I mean, there are no formulas here. I mean, we all know people that been together since they are 16 and they are the happiest couples ever, and we know the opposite. I mean, there are no rules, but actually. But one thing that I do believe is if you have a busy life professionally, and I didn't know myself when I was 20. I was never prepared to have a long-term relationship when I was 20ish. For me, I'm talking to myself.
But I think that's
because of all the mistakes. Looking back, I am much more prepared. It doesn't mean I will not do the mistakes in the relationships. But at least I am much more aware of them.
Yeah.
30s and 40s than you are in your 20s.
Yeah.
I think no one, of course, we don't know each other when on our 20s, but it has also, I think it has a lot to do with a conscious choice. I mean, if that guy that you were talking about, Andre, made the decision of getting married just because he was pushed, he was not making the decision himself. He was just going with, I mean, it's like living life by default. Right? I have this colleague friend that when I started with the mindful dentistry, I remember he saying to me, look, it's just I woke up one day and I had 3 kids. How that happened? Because my how that happened? Yeah, because she wanted to. And so he went along, and one day he woke up and you are, oh my God, what have I done with my life? Even when in your 20s, you should have some responsibility, because it's like Christina said, she felt she wanted to have kids. She had this feeling from the beginning, might have done with what she's been through in their family, but she felt it was the right thing. If you feel it in you that you are just being pushed, I mean, you have to have that courage to say, sorry, this is not for me. You might not even know why. It's just the feeling that you have. Otherwise, you're just living by default. You're just going with whoever pushes you. And then one day you're going to wake up and say, what have I done with my life?
I think that's a very good advice, because even if things didn't work out, at least you did what your heart told you, and you learned something from that.
Exactly. That's why I don't regret anything, because there were decisions I was taking, and if I wouldn't have done it, I wouldn't have Valentina and Pablo. So I see, like you said, Manuela, before when we were speaking, the dots I see why did I have
you look
that
back and everything connects, right? Everything makes sense. I can say from a very personal perspective that I had exactly the opposite that you had, Christina. I had someone in my life, the old relationship, asking me to have children, to have kids. We were in our 30s. It made sense. And for me, it didn't make sense. I had this feeling on me that I did not want that. I did not want that. And I could not explain it because people would call me selfish. People would say what I mean my mother, she's one of her biggest heartbreaking is that I'm not a mother. And now, of course, she understands because I'm 44, almost 45, so it's already too late. But there was this period in my life, and it was like 10, 15 years, that I had a lot of pressure. Oh, what about kids? Oh, when you're going to be a mother, or this and that. And through that relationship, I had to say no. And I had to say, no, this does not make sense. I'm not going to have a baby just because it's time to have a baby. Just because it's time to have a baby. Even I might regret it later. Regret it later, but I'm not going to do something just because I think I will regret it later. But one thing is to respond to a friend or to even your mother. Another thing is to deal with that in a relationship. And of course, we are not together nowadays, so it was not the deal breaker but it was part of what end up things. So we had different goals in life, and you have to face that. But sometimes taking the easy way out is just to say, okay, whatever everyone is doing it, right? We are already in our 30s. We have like a good life. You work, I work. So let's do it. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Sometimes, I was having this conversation the other day with a friend, like, don't you regret not having children? So, no, it's the other way around. There's certain situations, and it has nothing to do with screaming kids on airplanes or not, but there are certain situations in my life where I just think to myself, oh my God, I'm so happy I didn't have children because it was not for me, really. I love children. That has nothing to do with it. No. But I know that it was not for me. I had this feeling, just like you said, Christina. So, but it's not the easy way out. But again, that's why we are having the conversation here, because I think the three of us have chosen not the most. No.
And the important thing is to listen to your intuition, listen to your feeling, because if you would have children, maybe you would be bitter inside because you took a decision that weren't the right one. That is one of the big conclusions that I will come to from your course.
But it's very interesting what you're saying, Manuel, because I from a social perspective, and especially in a country as Portugal, which is still very traditional, there's a lot of social pressure for marriage, like we were talking. There's a lot of social pressure for you have to be in a committed relationship long term since you are 20s, or you have to have kids at your 30s, or you have to have a house and a family, and you have to go to the Maldives for vacation and take pictures because otherwise you're not a real couple. It happens a lot, and there's a lot of social pressure. And I think what you're saying is very important. Just to have the courage to listen to exactly what's inside you, because at the end of the day, that was, even if like you were saying, even if you regret it, at least you know how it feels to follow your heart, isn't it? It's very interesting.
And so, at Christina, least you know that at the moment it didn't make sense. Make sense. So you're not taking a decision just because everyone is doing it.
Yeah, but also one very important thing is that we all have the tendency to be very judgmental with people that have different points of view as ourselves, and especially in a more traditional society, that happens a lot. So I think it works both ways. You have to be able to have the courage for yourself to accept who you are, but mostly also to have the courage to enjoy people as they are as well, and respect them. Either they are your colleagues or your girlfriends or your boyfriends. That is really, I think that this is a very important sign of maturity, to be able to respect exactly and not judge the person, not just, for me, for example, I have a lot of tendency to do that because, for example, I have the profession, I think it's very futile, how do you call it? Most of dentists for me are actually not very much interesting people. But when I say that, I'm just judging them. You understand? But for me, that's what I feel. Most of them are actually not very I don't want to spend that much time with dentists because they are all the same for me, most of them. Maybe it's the profession, but when I'm doing that and I try to force myself not to think about that, what I'm doing, I'm just doing it judgmental based on the profession, right? So I think it works both ways. Well, but changing subject, so the next topic that I would like to touch is, what are, Christina, the biggest challenges so far in your career?
And also how you ended up working in Spain, because you didn't
how I ended up in Spain. Yes. Every summer to Greece, where my mother is from. And the funny thing, Malmo is the third biggest city of Sweden, so I'm a city girl. But I love to be in the village. They were seeing me. I wanted to help the people with the tobacco leaves, and I really loved Greece and the feeling of being there. Not only for the heat and the sun, it was more salado, like they say in Spanish. No more, I don't know, live. So since I was young, I was like, I'm going to see how it is to live in another country where there are more light, more sun. Because when I was living in Sweden, I felt that I was just waiting for the summer. I was just waiting for my vacation. I lived for my vacation. And I early realized I'm not going to have that life. So I planned and scheduled everything during my education with the children and everything. Went on my, we had small bank holidays. I went to Spain to make sure that my children would have school and everything. So when I could, after I got my title, then I went to Spain. So that is how I ended up there.
And you immediately open up your practice, or you worked for another colleague?
I worked for another colleague. But it is the same clinic I came to. So I've been there 17 years.
So you start working for the colleague, and then you became the owner of the practice.
I became a partial owner, and then I became the owner.
And your biggest challenges?
My biggest challenges, I think we are our biggest enemy ourselves. Because now, looking at the challenges, it's all the time coming back to the self-awareness and the organization. That's why I really recommend everybody to go to your course, because those two things are everything. It's like organization and self-awareness. But maybe it's also a maturity thing. Going back a little bit to my mother, now when I was in Greece, I was looking at her more like a psychologist, and looking how she was and understanding why I am like I am, and why I have had my challenges as well. She's a person, she with the biggest heart, and she wants everybody to be happy. And I have always been like that. I want and I'm still like that. If everybody's happy, I'm happy. Doesn't mean that I'm not thinking about myself. I'm doing the djing, I'm doing things for myself, but I want everybody to be happy. The worst thing for me is when it's bad vibration, bad. I don't know why, but it's really strong in me.
Can I tell you why?
Why?
It's not difficult, is it?
Tell me. Sometimes it's difficult to see yourself.
Because you don't like drama.
Yeah, I hate drama.
Because it's been present early on.
Yeah, probably. It was so present in my...
I have no idea if what I'm saying is true, but it seems rather cheap psychology and obvious, isn't it? I am the same.
Mm. Yeah, I think so too. It was too much drama. So, yeah, I cannot stand it. And and what I learned on your course, seeing it from other perspective, I have a lot of empathy. Only by looking somebody, if you would start to cry now, I would start to cry. You know, like the babies, they cry because the other cry. They don't even know why. I'm like that. Because in my head, I start to already do a movie, what has happened to you and all that. And I think if you're a person like that, I mean, you become a dentist, you will have a bumpier road, you know? So it has taken long time for me, especially also if you have a small clinic and you're the owner, because all your patients, you treat like they are your babies, like they are your family, and you take care of everyone, and you give and you give, and it's nobody's fault. But you can end up, if you're not realizing that, you can end up drained. And the only fault is yourself.
I'm seeing myself on the feminine version, exactly what you said. Exactly.
Yeah.
But let me, sorry to interrupt you. So you talked about having the need to babysit your patients. What about the staff?
Yeah, and the staff as well. Making everybody happy. Not listening to myself, because you get, and now I know the somebody says something, for example, can I take a vacation on that day? Your body explains to you exactly, boom, is it okay, or is something disturbing you? And I didn't listen to myself. I didn't listen to those small feelings. It was like, no, it's okay, of course, you're happy, I'm happy, you're happy. And I could be years like that, and finally when it broke, it was like poof. Not an explosion, you know, everything came out, and that is not right. That is not a good leader.
Exactly, but sorry, Christina, can you give us an example of the story of one of those explosions? Because I have many, of course, and I'm sure you have. If you want to share some of them, or at least one of them.
One was at a meeting, personal meeting, in front of everybody. And I was like shaking, because it has already come to a point of years where I had been, Andre, you have said something that I will never forget on your course. I'm sorry, but I just came up. When you said, if you're thinking about a person more than, I don't know, but if you said 20 minutes or 10 minutes per day, or you want to have sex with that person, or that person has to go out. That one.
No, but it's the goal is the same. But the thing is that it's something that I learned with Alok. He says that if at the end of the day you go to bed and you think more than 20 or 30 minutes about one person, either you are already having sex with her or with him, or they need to get out of your life.
Yeah.
Meaning that, I mean, it's only worth to think about someone for so long if it is in an intimate relationship. Otherwise, it's... And if you think that much for someone on a consecutive, on a daily basis, maybe even the intimate relationship needs to stop. But I completely get what you mean. Yeah, but sorry to interrupt you. But you were talking about, well, there was this explosion on a personal meeting, right? But what we want to know the untold story behind. So what led you there? Why were you shaking? What was happening on the consecutive? What was happening on a permanent basis or whatever that made you feel like that?
Yeah. like I said, it's so complicated because many times it has been years. I have such a patience. My husband sometimes says, "You don't have patience," and I'm looking at him. You don't know, you don't know, because it depends. At home, I don't have, but at work, I'm another person. I have such a patience with patients and with stuff. So it's hard to say one. It's hard to even remember the separate things, but it's the feeling of giving, saying yes, thinking about everybody or that person, doing the best, that person is happy, saying yes to things maybe I wanted to say no, hearing lies and inside me thinking, do you think I believe you? Because I'm nice, it doesn't say idiot. People think that nice person, like, I'm laughing, happy Christina, doesn't mean that I'm stupid. I can see between the lies. I can see what you're saying or what you're doing if that connects. But I'm not saying it because I don't want to have drama. But what I have, so it's that constant feeling over and over again that finally is like, you know what? I'm not an idiot. That. But I have come to the conclusion, no, Christina. And also by listening to you, reading books, listening to podcasts, successful people, the first they say it's the team building is so important. Within 3 months, you will know if that person fits or not. Does that person have the same ideology like you? If yes, stay. If no, bye. There is no, I'm going to change you, I'm going to heal you. No, I'm not a psychologist. You're not paying me for being your psychologist.
Yes, exactly.
This is work. I have come to that conclusion now, and I will be 45. I admire people if they come to that conclusion before, and I know the people that are. My husband is totally different. He's like, oh, you don't fit out. So it depends of how you are as a person, but you can always change by listening.
But let me ask you something. For example, in that personal meeting, were there that explosion? Was there, if you want to talk about it, of course, was there any decision or moment, more of a dramatic moment, or someone that had to leave? Was
that meeting? No, but I have another scenario. By phone, I was saying everything and saying that you have to go out today. So I have to. One meeting was, but eventually I have seen that when you start to feel about a person like that, that's why what you said, Andre, is so important, that if somebody occupies all those persons that have been occupying my brain is out. Eventually they have been out. They have left, or I have said to them to go out. So they are not people that will stay. It's like a relationship you want to keep. It will not work. So it's better to say, I'm so sorry, you're a good person, but you don't fit in here. Black and white.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Can I?
It happened to me exactly that thing. Sorry, Manuela, go on.
No. I was just going to say very quickly that by eliminating all those people on your mind, then you will have more patients at home, because I have a lot of colleague dentists complaining about that they are very patient at work, and that they give all of themselves and that they are empathetic, etc. And then at home they are completely drained and they are not patient, and they and their partners complain about that. Oh, you don't have any patience, and they say exactly what you said, Christina. If you only knew what I have been through all day with patients and stuff. By eliminating all of those persons in your head, then you will have space in your head to be patient at home for your loved ones. So sorry, Andrea.
It happened to me. I was on vacation in Alentejo in last week, and there was I'm not going to disclose too much about it because I don't want to be I want to just keep some confidentiality about it, of course, and not identify people. But there was someone who was a doctor that started to work for me for a very specific specialty, and patients completely loved that professional. He was working for me for a few months. And we had consistent complaints from the assistants. And I find a new assistant. So you're going to train her. You're going to do everything as you want, write down the protocols. And that new assistant told me, look, it happened this, and that. And the only reason why I'm talking to you during vacation is because I tried to solve the situations personally with a doctor, and there was no openness. And so I talked to the person, and there was no willingness to have an open conversation, at least from my point of view. And we both decided it was better to leave. And it's very difficult because I will not find someone that works in that area with that sort of expertise or the patients will love. But today I'm going to have a meeting with another person to replace her, and life goes on.
Yeah.
And it's much better that way.
Exactly.
It's much better that way because the whole team, and also you always need to hear both sides of the stories. And when these things happen, it's never a victory. And I told my team, I told my dental nurses, look, this happened, but I am not taking your side against that person. This is not what this is about. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So it's not like, okay, you kept complaining about her, but it was also, all the complaints were subjective for a couple of months. So whenever something is subjective, like, oh, I don't like the way that she looks to me. But when there is something that is really objective, she mistreated someone in front of the parents of the situation. When that really happens and it's objective, then you have something that you can talk without emotions on top of that. Because everything that is subjective, oh, I look in this way, I look in that way, that's all very subjective. And it's very difficult to talk to someone about that. But I told my dental nurses, and I think this is a very important and key message, that I got some advice from a few friends before I took that decision, which is make sure that your dental nurses don't think that you are taking their side against the other person. You understand?
Because it's not a blaming game. Wins. It's just we want the best.
It's not, and no one wins. And I told them, look, I'm not winning, you are not winning, but because this happened, and yes, there was this problem, there was this character that was not fitting in our way of practicing. But the rule here is to be reasonable. We have to adapt to ourselves. We all have good days and bad days, and this is why we do the course on emotional intelligence. This is why I pay you every year a course on communication and customer service, and another course on emotional intelligence. This is what's because sometimes, and this is, I think, a very important key message that I talked to them, and I said, look, we haven't won, we have lost, we have all lost because we could not deal with the situation. Okay, so what can we learn from this? We have to understand, and of course that there's also, I think that the boundaries were surpassed, and it was not a good fit. Okay, but having said that, we always should try reasonably well within some rules to make sure that everybody gets along in the team. And one of the very practical rules is that I try to implement is you always say thank you and you always say sorry. Throughout the day, whenever a dental nurse gives me something, by default, I tell them thank you. And if I hit her or if I ask her to bring some material and then she comes back and I say, well, I also did this, and I always say this. I am sorry, I forgot this. Can you please go and pick me up this thing again? And I think that I have created that to come out of me completely naturally and authentic and without any effort. So I think these small things are important, and everybody must make sure in the team that there's no one, whenever these things happen, no one wins. Right? We learn, right? And I'm not taking their side. I'm just taking the trying to deal with the situation the best way possible. Because by the way, I was not screwing that dentist, so therefore there's no way that she needs to be kept in my life, isn't it? And just to finalize this, another thing that I think it's also important is that when I talk to that person, and I think there was some emotional uncontrol in front of the patients, the way that we were treating the nurses, and always two sides of the story, and no one is completely right, and sometimes people exaggerate here and exaggerate there. But one thing very important that I remember that I told her, look, I was once worse than you. I have mistreated dental nurses. I have done these mistakes. So it's not about a personal blame. I know exactly how it is. And let me tell you, you know what it is? This is just insecurity. Because younger dentists, when they are less confident, they tend to, how do you call it? They tend to drop it on the nurse. Sometimes it's very subtle, you know. For example, let me give you an example. Sometimes something is not working well, and you just throw the material. It's not like it's an aggressive way, but you can see like, okay, this is not working well for me. So let me just discharge this over the nurse. Do you understand? All these small things that are not objective and are very difficult to have conversations about, these are the things that we should talk about. These are really the things that in terms of emotional intelligence, not only in terms of organization, because no matter how organized you are and you write things down, yes, you can write things like saying thank you and don't lose your temper and have the operational principles and the values, etc. And that helps. But at the end of the day, there's something very important, which is common sense and reasonability. You have to understand that this guy in front of me might be having a bad day. This patient, this nurse, she might be going through a divorce. She might be going through a difficult phase. Her kid might be going through some problems, right? So it's one of the things that I told this person was like, look, I know exactly what it is. I have done that. I have done all these mistakes, but look something. That those times where you were here and the dental nurses were here, that was 20 years ago. Not only that, I think that people in their 20s that start to have like a dental nurse career or whatever, today, they do not tolerate what the same people at the same age tolerated 5 years ago. Does it make sense to you? I think that because there's so much information out there, there are people, they do not tolerate that someone mistreats them in front of clients. This is something completely unacceptable. And in dentistry, sometimes this happens. I've done that. Maybe not in a very aggressive way, but sometimes I was not very confident doing the procedure, so I just said something in a rude way to the dental nurse. So one of the things that I use, one of the techniques that I use whenever I have to have this conversation, look, I'm no different from you. I'm maybe worse than you. I was worse than you. I've done all these mistakes, so don't take this wrong. But maybe sometimes but let's see if we can learn something from here. And that's exactly what happened to me last week. And by the way, since last 6 months, I had a lot of issues with dental nurses, and we've been talking about that here on the podcast, with dental nurses, with pregnant staff, which is a very sensitive subject as well. And sometimes I had to make some harsh decisions, but it was for the well-being of the whole team. So I completely understand what you are saying, is that sometimes it's better to let people go.
Yes.
It's really the best way to do, because at the end of the day, like Manuela was saying, you have to make your mind clear. And there's only so much that you can handle mentally in a given day.
I just wanted to say two things that I took notes. One of the things, and this is a very interesting subject, we could talk about this in another episode, which is about the relationship between the dentist and the dental nurse. I think that part of that sometimes when the dentist mistreats a dental nurse, it has to do a lot with insecurity. It has to do a lot with that person being a witness of the mistakes that you are making, because it's not on purpose that we make mistakes, but we all make them. And sometimes it's not even mistakes, it's things don't go well, and dentists have this thing with perfectionism, and that person is there witnessing everything that you are doing. So if you are not, again, self-aware, if you are not able, that you are working over tension, that you are narrow vision when you are working, it's so easy just to do those things that Andre said.
Exactly. But what is perfection? Perfection is the easiest disguise for insecurity.